Anthony Potter with the Arizona News Service here on an abandoned patrol car in the middle of downtown, and there's no cops around. It's an abandoned car. So if you look right here, it's 685. 685 is the abandoned car right here. So we're sitting on the abandoned car right in the middle of downtown Tucson, and there's no cops around. Nobody cares. Look at this shit. Abandoned cop car in the middle of Tucson. Any other city, and this would have been ganked a long time ago. Abandoned cop car in the middle of downtown Tucson. What's going on here? Abandoned car right here in downtown Tucson. Look at this. Everybody's watching. Look at this. Abandoned cop car right in the middle of Tucson. Right here. And now the cops are showing up. Can you tell me what officer abandoned their patrol car? Would you like me to get off? Can you tell me who abandoned their patrol car?
Mr. Potter, it's not abandoned. Please get off.
All right. Do I have permission to cross?
No, hold on. Okay, for you to be out here, you have to violate that, okay?
All right.
So why are you doing that?
Because
Because you
why
wanna sit
is
on the
there
car.
an abandoned patrol car here?
It's not
Because
abandoned.
here's the thing.
It's not
In
abandoned.
Chicago, New York, Seattle, Portland, LA, if this was done,
this?
it would have been stolen.
How about this? I'll write you the ticket and you can talk about that to the judge then, okay?
Or
Why don't
what
you
we
go over there
do,
and stand over there and I'll write you your
or what we do is we say, you know what, this is a learning experience. So here's a cop writing me a ticket because I was doing a video showing an abandoned cop car in the middle of downtown. And look, here's my press ID.
Walk over here.
So tell me this, look, here's my press card. If I'm doing journalism on an abandoned cop car, why am I getting a ticket? Is it because you don't want awareness coming out in the press that cops are abandoning their car? Or can we call this a learning experience? I don't do this again, and we don't have this, and you make sure nobody abandons their car in downtown Tucson.
His job. Why don't you get out of here?
Because he said I can't because
He's trying
I'm
to do
doing.
his job. He's trying to do his
Well,
job.
tell
He can't leave yet because I have to write him a ticket.
He's trying to do his job. You shouldn't be
he's
live
writing
recording
me
him.
a
That's fucked
ticket
up.
because I'm doing
He's
a
trying to do his
journalist
job.
story on them abandoning their patrol cars in the middle
But
of
you're
downtown.
live filming him.
Yeah, I'm a member of the press. That's my job, to bring awareness.
But I'm saying he's not doing
to
anything wrong.
Well, someone abandoned their car. How come I'm getting a ticket and nothing's happening to the cop who abandoned their
The
car?
reason it's there, it's because it's a busy downtown, and they want to make sure people see it in case they know that they're safe and protected. All I'm
He
saying is
actually, he knows.
he's doing his job.
Well, he
All I'm
also
saying is
believes
he's
I'm
doing
not
his
allowed
job.
to do this journalist story.
I don't think that's really his issue. He didn't say you weren't allowed to. He was just, I think.
He says that
questioning-
journalists
he was-
shouldn't be going after you
he
guys
was
for
questioning-
doing your job
he was
wrong.
questioning your methods, Mr. Potter. Okay, so what's your date of birth?
2/13/82.
So, you want to do your story? You have every right to do that.
All right, so why am
Okay,
I being
listen.
criminalized for doing this story on an abandoned cop car?
You can't, because you could have done it from there. You could have done it
So
from there.
tell
you
me,
could have done it from there. You
where
could have done
is
it
the
from a
officer
legal-
who abandoned their car?
You could have
Where
done it
is
from
the
a legal
o-
location. You
Well,
wanna
can
know
I
the
speak
answer?
to your supervisor?
You want to?
Yes.
I'll call him over. Okay. What's a good address for you for the court?
702 South 6th Avenue. It's been my address since I moved to Tucson.
Yeah, mailing address, sure. Do you have a phone number that you want on
No,
the citation?
I have no phone number.
Refused, got it.
Because, no, it's not a refuse. It's saying I can't afford a phone. I don't have a phone.
Okay, I'll make it better. I'll put NA. It's not applicable because you don't have one. You don't have service, right? Because that's a phone.
Yes, this
You
is
don't
a
have
phone.
service. Got it.
So tell me this. Am I not allowed to do a journalist story on cops abandoning their car in the middle of downtown?
You can do that.
Because,
Yes, you can do that. You asked.
all right, so why am I being criminalized for
You're not
it?
being criminalized. It's civil.
Why are you stealing my money because I'm doing a journalist story on your cops abandoning their patrol cars? Where's the officer that abandoned their patrol
I
car?
already explained that to you.
You didn't explain where your officer is that abandoned their car. So you don't even know where the officer is who abandoned their car. Where's the discipline for the officer who abandoned their car?
What would he be disciplined for?
Abandoning his tools? Like what happened if you abandon your gun? Would you not be disciplined? If you abandon your vehicle and it got stolen, would you not be disciplined? If you leave your assigned post, would you not be disciplined? If that officer ditched their patrol car in a place that's not supposed to be parked, abandoned their patrol car, is nowhere around in this area, then why aren't they being disciplined? Why aren't you telling your officer, hey, you know that while you abandoned your car, Mr. Potter was on it doing a press release, a video showing that cops are abandoning their equipment in the middle of downtown, leaving it open? Because, you know, if this was any big city like LA, Portland, Seattle, New York, Miami, Chicago, and you abandon your vehicle like that, it would have been stolen. You know how many cops in those big cities have lost their job because their abandoned vehicle got stolen? Over 200. Just last year. Now, you know that you guys are already understaffed. Do you want your fellow officers being reprimanded or fired because they're abandoning their vehicle? No, you'd rather write me a civil ticket, force me to go to court and waste taxpayers' money, give me a ticket that will never be paid because nobody's going to give me a job other than this press service which I volunteer for. And you doing this is keeping you from doing any bigger priority calls for property crimes and violence. Meanwhile, your fellow officer has abandoned their post. Huh? Well, he abandoned his vehicle right there. Can you tell me where your officer's at? Whose car is right there? So why don't you? Because you don't know where they're at.
No, I'm just not going to give you any information.
Yeah, because you're a gang that keeps secrets from the public.
Would you like to go talk to somebody? Would you like to go maybe to CRC or something?
Why would I want to go to CRC? Do you feel this is a mental health situation? Your officer abandoning their vehicle and me doing a press release is something where I need to go to CRC?
Your obsession?
Really? Obsession for what? Holding the government accountable? Wanting a better government and a safer nation? That's my obsession. Most people would say that's a good obsession to have, to want to hold your government accountable.
I agree. Your methods are suspect.
Suspect of what? Being constitutional?
If that's the way you look at it, Mr. Potter, here's your citation. It's failure to obey a traffic control device because you can't be in that area without violating the traffic control device. I could have cited you for jaywalking. I didn't.
So which
because
one's
that's-
more expensive?
Oh, I have no idea. You might be able to find that out in here, to be honest. So you have a court date for April 24th at 8 a.m. if you don't deal with prior to.
So what if I
Familiar with
already have a prior court case in another courthouse to be at the same time?
You can work it out with the court. Citation, sir. Mr. Potter, here is your citation. This is served. Whether you take it or not is really irrelevant to me as far as how that goes. This is your citation.
So are you his supervisor?
I'm not.
Are you the officer who abandoned their vehicle?
Yeah, he's the one who abandoned his vehicle and drove up with a different one because that makes sense. Here,
324?
there you go.
That's assault.
Whatever you want to call it. You've been
No, that was me being assaulted by
Because
a
assault is unlawful.
government equipment.
Okay. Well, there's your citation.
Well, you
Any other
served it
questions,
to the
Mr. Potter?
ground. You served it to the ground.
Any other questions, Mr.
Yeah,
Potter?
well, why did you write me a ticket for doing a journalist story? And why did you do it before
isn't
letting me speak to your
Why-
supervisor?
That isn't why you were written a ticket.
Really? I
Now
wasn't
you're
doing a journalist story?
That isn't
I'm
what I
still
said.
not?
That
You
isn't
see
what I
this?
said. That isn't what I said.
What's that say?
What I said.
So I'm doing a story on cops abandoning their vehicles in downtown Tucson.
Okay.
Why am I receiving and why am I being given consequences for doing a journalist story on police
You're not.
accountability?
I already explained it to you. I already explained
And why isn't a sergeant here?
It doesn't have to be.
And why did he serve the sidewalk?
I didn't serve the sidewalk. Is it on you? Like I said, you
So
understand.
how did you serve me? Did you hit me with paper?
I placed it on your
Oh,
arm.
so you hit me in my arm
I placed
with
it on your arm.
paperwork trying to give me paper cuts.
Sure. Yeah, no, not trying to give you paper cuts. How am I going to do that? You have a jacket on. It doesn't even make any sense. Are you sure you don't want to talk to somebody?
Why would I want to talk to anybody other than your sergeant? Because you're doing what? Retaliating against me for me doing a story on your fellow officer?
We're out of school now. It's just outside of
So tell me this, did you see him serve me?
I did.
And how did he serve me?
He placed it on your arm.
So he touched me without my desire to be touched.
Okay, serving you.
He hit me.
He didn't hit you.
He didn't hit me?
No.
So what counts as hitting? So when he gets a foreign object and
Anthony,
hits
I'm not
me
gonna
with
argue the semantics
and
of it,
touches me
okay?
with it when it's undesired, that's what?
Anthony, I'm not going to argue semantics with you out here on the sidewalk.
Because that never touched me.
It did.
No.
Anthony.
When did it touch my skin? When did it touch my person?
When it
My
pushed
body decorations and protection isn't my person.
Mr. Potter,
not
if
gonna
you
try
want
to
me
explain
formal
it.
complaint with my supervisor when he gets here, but you're free to do that.
And can I see your department issued ID?
Yes.
Name and badge number?
It's Kaczynski 52266. There you go. Got it.
And yours?
Sure. There you go.
So tell me this, why can't I do a news
can.
story on your officers abandoning
You
their vehicles?
absolutely can.
Can you, well, why am I being consequenced for it and retaliated with the civil violation?
I already-
What civil violation is
Anthony.
doing a news story on an abandoned
I already
patrol car?
explained to
you.
And where is the
Anthony,
the
I already
officer
explained to
who
you.
abandoned their
You
patrol
keep
car?
asking me questions, but you won't let me respond. Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are allowed to do your news story, okay? I don't know why you got a citation. I wasn't here to see the
Because
civil traffic
as I
violation.
showed up, he was sitting on the patrol car, which
Oh.
clearly says you can't walk out there with
Okay.
the signs. So you got a citation for where.
Okay.
Where he-
So I got a citation
Yeah.
for what? Sitting on a patrol car? Where does it say in the law that I can't sit on a patrol car?
Figure that most appropriate.
Yeah.
What
So-
law says I can't be
Actually,
on
your
an
citation
abandoned
says it.
patrol car doing a press release?
Citation says there.
Says what?
Citation says
You
what
never
the
served
violation
me
was.
with that.
Okay, whatever you want to argue, the video that we have, if you want to bring your video to court, by all means do it. But I mean, your circular logic on everything isn't going to work. Like the judge will see through that. A good judge.
Well,
will see
the
right.
judges are what? On the city payroll just like you? So it's kind of a
Possibly, yeah.
biased court?
Okay, so you're saying that anything you get cited for in the city and that goes to city
If the
court is
city's
biased.
claiming to be the victim
Understood.
in order to steal money I
Understood.
don't have,
well, then they can't do that. So you're ahead of the game right there, right? You can't lose if you don't have any money. You got nothing to lose, right? Does that make sense?
so what you're saying is it's illegal for the city to
I
write
didn't
me
say Nope, I didn't say
something
that.
when
Nope.
it knows I
Nope.
can't afford it.
Nope, didn't say that. I would
Then
never
what
say
are
that.
you saying?
That doesn't make sense.
Then what's my advantage
Then
on that
You
issue?
said you don't have any money to pay, so you can't pay.
Which
So
means
they can't,
what?
They can't take your money because you don't have any.
Which means what? They take my time?
I don't know. I'm not the judge. I'm not going to decide that.
Yeah, but the judge is on the same payroll you are.
Okay, so what is
And this
your
is all about the
solution to
city trying to take
So-
money I don't have to make sure I never run for office,
that?
right?
Well, I don't think that's the case. Wouldn't it be easier just to not break the law?
I didn't break any law. You're not
You did.
charging me with
Yeah,
any crime. You said you're not charging me
So
criminally.
laws are only crimes.
What you're doing
There's
is
not
you're
civil traffic
what?
law?
So what? You're charging me with
Do
a
you not-
policy violation?
Civil.
You're charging me with
civil-
a
do you not
policy
know that
violation.
Civil traffic laws are called laws because they're laws.
No,
So you think only laws are?
that's a
criminal.
charter policy issue. That's
Okay.
a policy issue.
Okay,
That's
whatever
a
you wanna call
Tucson City policy issue that
Look,
you're making.
well,
What gives
technically,
the
I did
government
cite
the
you
right?
for
Tell me this.
a
What
city
gives the
code
government the right to restrict my travel?
Violations of the law.
No.
Actually, there's the way the Constitution
Taking
is
away
written-
my right to travel is a violation of the Constitution. Taking money that the government taking money from me and citing me for stuff when the government knows I don't have the means is creating hardship,
Okay. Cool.
which the government's not allowed to create hardship, right?
Okay. Is
The
that-
government's not allowed to cause financial hardship.
Okay.
Because if you're under the federal laws, if you're found to be under hardship, your student loans are canceled.
Okay. Are you going somewhere with this?
Yeah.
Where?
There's proof under federal law and state law that says you cannot financially harm someone, and there's laws that say you can't put them under hardship.
Okay. So basically, let me get this right. So
So
your stance
the
is,
only thing
if
you're
you don't
doing
have money,
is
you get to do
trying
whatever you
to
want.
put me in debt court.
Is that
All
what
you're trying
asking?
to do is
Is
put
that what
me
you're
in
asking?
debt
If
court.
It's okay to do whatever you
All
want
you're
if
trying
you
to
don't
do
have money.
is put me in debt court.
I'm trying to hold
All
you
you're
responsible for your actions.
for what? Doing a journalist story?
You have
Why don't
no
you
accountability
hold
for
that?
what you do.
Why don't you hold that officer who abandoned their car accountable? Because you wouldn't have to deal with all this
What
if you
law
didn't
did you
have
break?
officers abandoning their vehicle. Are you saying that as a sworn officer, you're allowed to abandon your equipment without?
I think you're not understanding what the word was are. He's using that word, but
Yeah, and then he gave him a ticket.
I was doing a journalist. All I was doing was a journalist story on abandoned vehicles.
Then I'll get your story, okay?
Why am I not
If you
allowed to
wanna
do
wait by
a
my
journalist
car-
story?
Hold on, if you don't wait by my car, I'll come talk to you. I just want to talk to him really quick, okay?
And why am I being cited a ticket before you
Anthony.
come and speak to me?
Anthony, if you don't want to wait by my car, you can wait here, okay? But I'm going to talk to him.
Why can't I film your guys' conversation?
Hey, Anthony, what happened to your foot, boss?
You guys ran me over. Well, it was either you guys or all your sympathizers and bootlickers.
I was asking you sincere questions. I was concerned.
Yeah, and I was giving you a sincere answer.
All right.
And can you tell me why, when you officers have conversation like that, you mute your body cameras?
Because it's a conversation between two officers.
So
It's not-
if two officers are talking about me and they're trying to write me a ticket, I don't have the right to have that audio in court?
It's between. So if we're talking to you and whatnot, our policy says that we have to have our body worn camera on and active.
And if your officers are internally discussing whether you guys abused your rights, you guys can turn off your audio while you talk about whether you guys broke your oath or not.
Anthony, I'm not going to get into it with you, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Did you make that or?
No, like the news service gave it to me.
Oh, that's cool. Which news service is it? Is it the Arizona United News?
Yeah.
I've never heard of them, so.
It's a news service to hold government accountable. And so this is what happens ever since this was created. Everybody that's part of this news organization gets cited and ends up in court for doing their journalism.
So you think you've been targeted?
Yes, by you who's targeted me
You
in the
don't think-
past.
You don't think that
Are you saying you never targeted me in the past?
I don't know if I've ever even cited you.
Anthony, is it ArizonaNewsMedia.com or?
I don't think have I ever even cited you?
I just want to educate myself about your news group. Can I not do that?
Yeah, you can do that all you want. This is my ID.
Yeah. What's the website again? I just want to know.
ArizonaUnitedNews.com.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, my bad. I had it wrong.
So you didn't really have an answer for that, Mr. Potter.
What?
Have I ever cited? I don't think I've ever even cited you. for
Well, have you ever tried to cite me? How did
It would
I
be a
get on
try.
your radar? How
would be
did
a
I
try.
get on your radar?
Mr. Potter, I don't know if you know this, but we've talked before.
Exactly. You profiled and targeted me before.
How have I profiled you?
Well, tell me
We've gotten
this.
calls
How
for
many?
You've broken the law numerous times.
When?
The last time I talked to you, you were probably breaking the law. Actually, I remember. Let's see, you were crossing against the light over here. I didn't give you a ticket for that. So you already got the way. I guess you pulled one over on me, huh?
Or you don't know the law,
I know that you can't do what you were doing.
according to your perception. So tell me this: under the thing you like to call probable cause, if that's all based on a cop's perception. So if a cop's perception is that I'm a bad guy,
Doesn't say you're a bad
according
guy.
to that perception, what does that cop do? It profiles and targets me. So if a cop's perception is that people of certain skin color are bad, then according to probable cause, that cop is going to stop people because what? Their skin color? Because that's how probable cause works, right? Based on perception. So what's your perception of me?
Like,
What's your perception of me?
statements are a little bizarre.
Well, tell me this. What's your perception of me?
and I guess now. Trying to go home. Okay. Are you calling me?
Yeah, I'm actually ready to go to the house. This clubhouse told me that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I didn't know where I was going because they led me to a spot that I didn't know.
So if you want to wait while your ride comes, you'll
Because I'm really scared of where I can go. I don't want to attend my place where they're going to get big.
no, you can stay right here and then try your ride.
And any bar you were at should be part of the Safe Ride program.
Yeah, but they didn't actually tell me anything. They just told me that I was going to the restroom and I really needed to go. But they just told me I needed to
Yeah,
go.
downtown definitely needs more bathrooms. Like the county government gave Tucson, the city, $100,000 to make
Yeah,
more
but they didn't
bathrooms,
tell me where to
and
go.
they built fences instead around the courthouses. Because that's what we need more than bathrooms, right? Walls around the courthouses. We need to guard the judges while we ticket people for using the bathroom outside. So tell me this, what's your perception of me? What's your perception of me?
What do you mean?
What's your perception of me?
I guess I don't understand the question.
How can you not understand the question? You know what perception means, right?
Nope. How about that? No, I don't. Explain it to me.
So, probable cause is based on perception, right? And you're saying you don't know what perception is.
Interesting proposal there.
So is that what you're saying? That you don't know what that means, but you're saying you're always saying that you have probable cause, but you don't know what perception means.
Sure, go with that. That works. Whatever you want to say. I know I've tried to have civil conversations with you, and like I said before, we were in this exact spot. There's a lot of stuff I agree with you. I agree with you. You know, I don't know who you're trying to convince at this point. Is it me or you?
Well, I think if anything, you're saying that I've been arrested a lot of times and the courts threw it out, which means the courts understand whose constitutional perception better, yours or mine,
Well, why would it be
your
mine? department's
department's or mine. Because right now,
I think you're excluding some factors. You're excluding some factors as far as people.
and so tell me again, what's perception mean?
Regular pubs, so there's a couple places down that way.
What's perception mean?
They're smaller than a whiskey bar.
What's perception mean?
I don't know. What does it mean? You tell me.
Brewery. Those are down by Scott.
You tell me.
Yeah, no.
So you don't know what perception means.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
And
but we don't know.
perception is the defining word in probable cause.
Is
I
it?
know you guys aren't interested in.
Is it according to ARS? Is it?
Well, tell me this. According to ARS,
What does it
if you're
say?
if you
What is it
don't
for
can
them?
perceive,
Oh, you don't
if you can,
maybe you can look at
if you can perceive something to be wrong, how can you get probable cause?
Is that what it says in ARS?
Well, you tell me what ARS says, because there's things in the ARS statutes that are unconstitutional and vague, right? And under the Arizona Constitution, it says unconstitutional and vague things can't be in the Constitution and can't be part of the laws.
Okay. Okay. Are you going somewhere with that statement?
Yeah, so there's things in the ARS statutes that are vague and unconstitutional, right?
And then what?
Yes or no?
Sure. Mr. Potter,
So tell me this, if there's a bad law or an unconstitutional law, are you going to enforce it? If there's a bad law or an unconstitutional law, are you going to enforce it? And if you did, what would happen?
what?
So tell me this, when
Do you have any
Hatch,
examples?
when Hatch and Miranda arrested me for filming on a public sidewalk,
I don't think that's what you got arrested for.
well, that's what the body camera showed.
What
It showed me
statute- what
holding
statute
up a
did
camera
Arizona
like
revise
this
statutes?
and Miranda coming up behind me and cuffing me for doing what I'm doing right now.
That isn't against the law, and that isn't what you were arrested
But
for.
well, the courts deemed that that's
Oh yeah, it's,
Why is he videographing in here?
because I'm a journalist and my journalist company does journalism holding the government accountable.
For what?
Well, officer
He's just
abandoned.
doing his job.
Well, he's doing his job how by giving me a ticket for doing a journalism story on how TPD abandons their vehicles in the middle of the street.
Maybe they have to. I mean, there's got to be a reason for it, right?
Well, think about this. What happens if an officer abandons their equipment and then it's used for criminal activity?
They're not abandoning
Someone
it.
doesn't
They're
have
right
a job
here.
anymore.
Is it abandoned? I don't know.
what's your definition of abandoned?
Yeah, it's right
Well,
there.
tell me this. Where's the officer who's in charge of that vehicle?
Maybe he's in there.
He's not in there.
Did you look?
Yeah. If he was in there, he would have said something to me when I was on the car, right?
Oh, when you were on the car. So you were admitting you're on the car.
Well, is there anything illegal about being on a patrol car?
In that location? Yes.
So is that a car not parked in an illegal place?
No.
Or why? Because
Have you read ARS where it says about parking? What's that?
Hey, Anthony, you want to come over here and talk to me real quick? Just come over here. Is this your citation on the ground?
they threw it on the ground.
Okay, go over to my car real quick. Okay, I'll come over. Anthony.
All I was doing was a journalism story on how your officers abandoned their vehicles in the middle of downtown. He didn't like my story, decided to write me a ticket.
Okay. So there's kind of two
So
issues
this is
here.
where I'm being retaliated for doing a journalism story.
Okay.
And it's not the first time that your officers have profiled me for doing journalism.
All right. You want to come up? Let's get out of the sidewalk so people can walk by.
So what gives him the right to give me a ticket?
You can come over here with me.
So what gives him the right to give me a ticket for doing a journalism story on how you're not, how your officers are abandoning their equipment and downtown, and none of these officers can tell me where that officer is at. So can you tell me where the officer is at that abandoned their vehicle And what's going to happen now that this whole situation has been caused because I did a journalism story on cops abandoning their equipment in downtown. Because did you know that over 200 officers across the country have lost their job in big cities like LA, Portland, Seattle, Chicago, New York, Miami, Tampa, and Austin? You know why? Because they abandoned their vehicle and it was stolen and then used for a crime. Is that what you want from your officers? Or do you want your officers citing me because I do a journalism story on how they're abandoning their equipment, just like all of those officers in bigger cities where cops are losing their jobs, cities are losing money and equipment because officers are being negligent with their equipment in high traffic areas.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay. You know better than anybody else because you're down here every night, more or less. And we park here all the time. And everything we do in our life, whether you're a police officer or not, is a decision that you make, right? So if we park our car here to have high visibility enforcement, it's our close time, that's a choice that we make. Just like it's a choice you make to walk down the road here.
According to the ARS statutes, when do you guys have to follow the traffic laws?
So hold on.
And your officer
respond to
said
your
he
last
doesn't know what perception is. So if perception is the guiding force for probable cause, and he says he doesn't know what perception means, what gave him probable cause to seize my right to travel, seize my right to do press stories under the First Amendment, and seized my pursuit of happiness because one of your officers decided to abandon their equipment? When are your officers made to follow
Let me ask you a question, Anthony.
traffic laws?
If you believe they're in the wrong, okay, by you committing a wrong to go do a story
I
on
didn't.
a wrong, does that
So
make it
tell me
right?
this: if I'm doing a journalism story on officers abandoning their equipment, what's the wrong there? Because that's First
hold on.
Amendment protected activity.
Let me explain something. The sign is clearly posted in the road, correct? No pedestrians are to cross at that particular location. Did you see the sign?
No. I saw the sign once your officer alerted me to it and told me that
This is a simple answer.
and told
The
me
sign's posted.
he
There's
pointed
no
out.
crosswalk. You've been personally served. You're aware of the ticket he told
I
you.
haven't been served.
Sure. If you don't go to court, that's a court date and time. Okay.
Well, like I said, I haven't been served, and I shouldn't be served. I shouldn't be given
I'm not going to
financial
reverse this
retaliation
citation because that's his
because
discretion.
I did a journalism story.
Again, simple answer is you can contest it in court. if
Well,
you're not
tell me
really
this: what did I do wrong?
The officer explained it to you. If you'd like, I can explain
Yeah,
it to you
he
again.
said I was sitting
There's a
on a
sign.
patrol car,
Yeah, and in order to get over there, there's a sign clearly posted with no pedestrian traffic.
which he
allowed to
brought
go.
that my attention
Yeah.
and asked me to get off the car and go to the sidewalk. And I told him, thank you for educating me and to
Anthony,
have a nice night. He goes, no, I'm writing you a ticket because I've dealt with you before. So what? Because he lost cases against me before and I'm doing a journalism story on police accountability for deserting their vehicles. Can you tell me where your officer's at who abandoned their vehicle?
I don't know whose car that is right now because there's 3 or 4 cars here. I don't know the number of that car in the road over there. I'm not sure.
So what you're saying is you don't know where the officer's at. You don't know who the officer
No.
is.
I don't.
And so what's going to be done about that officer abandoning their
At this
equipment?
particular time, I'm trying to get to this first. Okay.
So we
So
got to
I can't-
get
you're asking me so many
financially.
things.
So
I
we
can't
got to
answer them all. You have to
financially
give me one at a
retaliate
time.
against me for doing First Amendment activity before we even find out where the cop is who abandoned their vehicle, which is the story that I was doing.
Anthony, the
So
time
tell me
period.
this: have you ever?
we can stay on
Well,
track, one
yeah.
thing at a time,
Let's
then
do
that's
one
great.
thing at a time.
Not
Have
that
you
I can be
ever
done.
asked me on a date?
Have I asked you on a date? No,
Yes.
I asked you if you'd like to go talk so we can get to know each other downtown.
And where did you want to take me? To coffee or dinner?
It was your choice. You wanted to go to Caruso's.
So that wasn't a date.
I would consider
So
it a
you've
meeting,
never,
not a
so
date.
you've
I'm
never
not trying to
made
date you.
any sexual advances against me in the past.
No, I have not.
So if I told you I would have coffee or
Anthony.
dinner with you, what was my stipulation?
Anthony,
What was my
we are
stipulation?
getting way off topic here. It has nothing to do with why I came to talk to you, okay?
Yeah, well,
So either you want to discuss this or we're going to
so you're not backing him because he's your officer, because this is a journalism
Anthony, do you
story
wanna discuss
on your
this?
team.
We're doing to be done.
I would like justice, and you're not
I'm
giving me
okay.
justice.
I'm not going to reverse this. That's
Why?
why we have a court system. If you want to fight it in court, you can fight it in court, Anthony. You know the system probably better than anybody I know.
Yeah,
Matter
and
of
this
fact,
is
I
where-
find it hard to believe you're down here every night that you do not know that you cannot cross there. That sign, I can see it from here clear as
So-
day. No pedestrians. You do not cross.
So tell me this:
For you to
why
tell me that you
do
cannot see
cops
that
get
sign,
more rights
not-
than citizens? Why does
Listen,
the
because
government? Why
we,
do?
under Arizona Revised Statute, can guide and direct traffic for safety purposes. You
So
understand
if
that?
I'm doing
So that's
a
what he was
journalism
doing. He was
story
guiding, directing
on government accountability and doing it in a high traffic area,
Anthony, that doesn't give you the key to do whatever you want. That's what you don't understand.
so
If
you're
you
saying
wanna-
under the
if
First
you-
Amendment,
if you want to go-
with a press ID,
wanna go-
I cannot do a news story on cops
Anthony,
abandoning
if you
their
wanna go fight
vehicles.
this civil traffic ticket in court, you can do that. Outside of that, I'm done. I'm not going to explain any more to you.
Why?
reference
Because
this.
I wouldn't go on a date with you, because I wouldn't accept your sexual advances, or because your officer said he doesn't know what perception is.
Anthony, your understanding of any situation or any conversation I've ever had with you is
So
completely
tell me this:
misconstrued.
if I was,
If you wanna
if
go
I
get my
told
audio
your,
recordings
so
and
tell
have
me this:
a copy of our
if
conversations in the past,
if I told your officer
completely
I
fine.
was
You can do
doing
that.
a journalism story and he
We're-
asked me if I wanted to go to CRC, how is that in any way professional if I show him press ID and tell him I'm doing a journalism story and he asked me if I want to
Anthony,
go seek mental
do you
health?
have any specific questions about this ticket?
Yeah.
What?
What did I do wrong?
We already explained.
You didn't. You told me that your
that.
officer
Failed to
told
obey a
me.
traffic control device.
So what was the
Crossing against
traffic
the sign.
control device?
That sign, no pedestrians, do not cross.
So tell me this: when did you guys see me cross?
Okay. Anthony,
So you can't even
Listen,
prove
you've been
that I
personally
wasn't
served your
dropped
court date.
off right
It's
there
at Tucson
on
City
the
Court.
island.
You're familiar
Can
with
you
Tucson City
prove
Court.
that I
Your court
wasn't
date is
dropped?
April 24th,
Tell me this:
2019
can you
from 8 to
prove
4:30.
that I wasn't dropped off right there at that island?
So,
Can you prove that
that's your
I wasn't
citation.
dropped off on that
Court date and
island?
time.
So
You have
tell
any
me
questions
this:
about your citation,
if I was
Anthony?
dropped off on that island, how did I break
Anthony,
the
I'm
law?
leaving your ticket here. You've been personally served. If don't
You
have any
haven't served me.
questions
You
about
served your
Anthony,
patrol car.
You were personally served.
You didn't
That's-
serve me. You served your patrol
Anthony,
car.
That's your
You
fight
served
for-
your patrol car. I never touched that. So, Lushba, are you the officer who abandoned your equipment?
I parked the car, Anthony.
Yeah, where have you been?
Working.
Because none of these guys knew where you were.
I was working,
None
Anthony.
of them even knew that was your car.
Yeah, they did.
What were you? How were you working? Where were you working? Were you drinking in the bars again?
Again. Are
You
you
can
insinuating that I drink
You
on
can-
duty, Anthony?
Are you saying?
Are you
that
insinuating
you're
that I drink
allowed?
on duty?
Are you saying you're allowed to drink on
Anthony
duty?
and I have a good rapport. I
Are
don't
you
appreciate
saying?
that.
Well, where
I don't
were you
appreciate it.
working in the bar, like you usually
Go ahead,
do?
John. Go ahead and go.
I was walking and doing my beat like I was.
Can we
Anthony,
get him a
and you know
breathalyzer?
that.
Will you take a breathalyzer? Will you take a breathalyzer, Lushba?
I'll do anything, but not for you, because I don't like you. Because we've always had a good arrangement, you and me. Okay, we've always been.
So
fine
tell me
together.
this:
But all of a
what
sudden you
other
wanna turn on me?
officers
I
here
don't need
don't
it.
like me?
I don't
What
need it.
other officers here don't like
Because
me?
the way you're acting tonight.
What
Anthony.
other officers here don't like me?
I don't know, Anthony.
Well, why don't we ask them?
You can ask whatever you want, Anthony.
So the officer who abandoned their vehicle says he doesn't like me. He says that he doesn't know what